Morning to all. So we'll start the session by now. So, so I'm our important webinar on Code of Labor amendments and impact. So you'll be on broadcast mode. So you'll be able to listen to the webinar only, and later we'll have a Q&A session separately. So with this, we'll start off this webinar. Well, we thought it is important to educate our clients on new code of labor to get ourselves prepared for the implementation and preparatory activities to the upcoming labor amendments or labor reforms to be happening. So with this, I'll set the context of this meeting. So what today you will be expecting, what kind of takeaways that you will have today. So I'll just start with the PPT so that everyone can have a look on the expectations and what are the impacts that your organizations and your team will have. Thank you. So I'm presenting the screen. So, what are the expectations that you will have in this webinar? So, you will have this lucrative knowledge on the new code, what it is, and how it is going to impact your business or organizations, specifically on payroll and compliance aspects, and the roadmap to adhere to this new changes, and how we are going to adhere and implement the changes in the upcoming months. So this is what all about you will have the expectations, and we make sure that you take away all these informations to your organizations as well as to your team. So before that, many of will have a doubt. Will have a doubt like what is the new labor code, what it is actually. So it is not a new topic. It is way back 2002 itself in the second labor commission. It is recommended to reform the labor laws in India because it's a huge and humongous that many of us couldn't be able to follow all the rules and regulations. So the second labor commission actually recommended for broad categorization of the labor laws. So that's how it is actually evolved. Um, so in 2002, it has actually been recommended, but after that, over a decade, it has not been actually been taken into a good shape. After Prime Minister Modi has taken his position in first time in India in 2014, it is one of his manifesto to reform the labor laws. So that's how it has actually evolved, and it got its shape in 2019, way back 2019. The Code of Wages has brought into effect, and subsequently, due to COVID situations, the other three codes were actually not being able to drafted or implemented. In 2000, in 2000 September 2020, it actually got its shape. I mean, it's got its presidential approval in Lok Sabha, and in 2020 September, 29 September, it got its official notification in Gazette. So that's how it's the labor code's journey has begun, and we are actually yet to present the final the final notification. What is the enforcement date, and this is what how the labor journey actually evolved.
எவ்வளோதான் 100% வச்சிருக்கு.
Excuse me, sorry.
ஜூம் மீட்டிங் டவுன்லோட் பண்ணி அதில் இது பண்ணேன். டவுன்லோட் பண்ணி ஜாயின் மீட்டிங் போனீங்கன்னா வந்துடும்.
So now we look into the new labor code, list of new labor codes. The broad categorization actually happened for 29 labor laws in India. So that has been categorized into code of wages, code of social security, occupational safety, health, and industrial relations code. So these codes actually will regulate different labor laws put together into a single broad categorizations. So the code of wages actually regulates the payment of wages, bonus, the other payment related labor laws, whereas the social security scheme actually regulates the social security of the employees, where you have this EPF, ESI, the gratuity, all those schemes actually been regulated under this code of social security. And occupational safety, health, and working conditions, where you will have this employees service condition of working, their health, all those things actually been regulated. And industrial relations majorly concentrates on the industrial disputes, standing order, and other aspects related to industries. So it is being categorized broadly into four, whereas you will have 29 labor laws actually amalgamated under this four labor codes. So this is how it is being broadly classified, and it's a welcome note that because uh, till now in India the volume of labor laws is actually huge, and many of the employees will not know what actually we have to follow and what actually we should not follow, and what will be applicable to us and what is not applicable to us. With this broad categorization, we actually we could able to understand, layman's can also able to understand what the categorization and what is applicable to them. So this is a welcome note from India. So now let's look into the objective. uh, what actually the objective of this labor code, why it is being implemented now, and what is the actual the primary
அந்த
initiative
பேஸ்ல
of
ஆட்
this labor
பண்ணிருப்பேன்
code.
நேஷனல் ஹால்.
Uh, so this labor code actually, is been set to objective like to ease the compliance. Of India. So you may know, like before a decade, all the whatever the code, whatever the laws which we follow, all will have a manual physical work, like the paperwork, all those things were involved. Now after a decade, like from when you compare 2010 and 2020, most of the labor laws were actually being brought into digital way. So if you take EPF, ESI, labor laws, even labor laws has been brought in a digital mode, where even if you want to apply for a claim or if you want to follow registers, that can be done through a digital mode. So this is the main objective of the labor code, uh, so to the ease of compliance and about the equity to all. So if you look at the labor laws in India, equal remunerations, organized workers, unorganized workers, all will have their own rules and regulations. So this equity to all actually been given in this new labor code. If you look into the definitions across all these four codes, the definitions will be the same. So that can be burden as well as so advantage and disadvantages, because if you see the definition of wages in a particular EPF, when compared to ESI or other labor laws, it is actually different. So in this code they brought in all the definitions in the same manner, so that it can be applicable to everyone. And then next objective is to simplify the labor laws. So they have actually simplified the registration process. Now all have become online, and the multiplicity of laws and rules. So from 29 labor laws, around almost around 177 rules to be followed, all those being brought under one, four labor codes now. That is actually a simplified uh, uh, labor law that actually invites more foreign investments, because all these rules actually been a difficult scenario for new company setup or foreign to attract foreign investments. So these labor codes actually simplified things, and it is actually welcoming note and effective enforcement and governments of control. So till now, all these inspectors, the regulatory bodies actually been like they have their own rules and they'll actually enforce the rules. But in this labor code, actually they are becoming inspector come facilitator, where they'll have to help the companies to follow, adhere the rules and regulations. This is one of the welcoming note actually in the new labor code. So with this, we will be able to understand what the journey of the new labor code and the objective of the new labor code. So now let's look into the amalgamations part of each code. So we are having 4 codes, and each 4 codes will have the different labor laws, amalgamated. So when you come to the Industrial Relations Act, code, the industrial relation regulates the industrial disputes, the Trade Unions Act, standing order. All those will come under this Industrial Relation Code. Likewise, the Code on Wages 2019, it actually regulates the payment related activities like the labor laws like minimum wages, payment of wages, payment of bonus, and Equal Remuneration Act. So all these 4 labor laws actually have some point like it regulates the wages or the monetary related items that is actually being brought under the code of wages. And the next set of codes are like social security, occupational safety, health, and working conditions. So this social security and occupational safety health actually regulates the monetary benefits, some part like EPF, ESI, payment of gratuity, maternity. All these actually have the social security benefits to the employees, whereas in the other hand, occupational safety, health, and working conditions actually regulates the condition of working employees in the both as well as in the organized establishments and in the industries. So majorly our type of organizations where service sector, IT and ITES, they actually come under this social security code and code on wages. Both these will be applicable majorly. Some of the acts, labor laws will be applicable to us, like standing order, working conditions, like you will have to provide the proper lighting, proper ventilation, all those things will be under the Shops and Establishment Act. That is the State Regulatory Act. So with this, we'll have had look into the major part like the amalgamation of each code and the objective of the labor laws and what are the journey that labor code has brought in. Now let's come to the important topic, like what are the changes that actually been happened in this labor code. So we have categorized these codes in the definitions and its impacts, because the existing labor laws will continue in force and will have the definitions and impacts only to be new changes. So that's where we have to put in our thoughts and work to adhere and implement. So we have categorized this based on the definitions like employer, employee, wages, contract, and new terms like fixed term employment, lower wages. And the registers contract employees, contract labor, wage ceiling are all existing practice where they have brought in new changes. So we'll go one by one so that everyone will understand what the change and how it will impact to our business. So this is the important part which we'll discuss in elaborate. So we'll go first to the employer. So the existing definition of employer actually varies from labor laws in different scenarios, where in the new labor code what they have brought in is like the employer and contractor both will have the liability to have the social security and wages related items to be liable for both of the contractor and employer. What it means like now the employer and principal employer and the contractor will be liable for the respective employees on their payment of wages as well as the payment of their social security scheme. As of now, what the current scenario is like, if we are hiring a contract employee, will not be liable in some point wherein the contractor will be liable to pay his wages or his social security scheme. We'll just need to uh, have it verified from principal employer. That's all. But what this new code actually brought in is like if you are employer and you are employing a contract employee, you should pay the contractor the wages of the service of the contractor in advance to the the contractor, so that the contractor will pay the wages on time to the employee as well as the social security scheme on time to the employee, to the contract employee. So as of now, we'll receive the bill and we'll have to pay. We'll pay the bills to the contractor after the salary payment date. But in this new code, the contractor's payment has to be made before the payment of their actual payment date of the contract employee, so that he can pay to the employees on time and also the social security. So this is a impact that will actually have to the employer. And let's look into the employee and worker definitions. So what the employee and worker difference is like, you will have this managerial role and other categories of employees. Non-managerial roles will come under the workers category. So now in this definition, what they have made is like non-managerial roles, managerial roles, all will come under this labor code. They'll be purviewed, a common purviewed in this labor code, so that all the benefits to the employees and workers will be given in equality. So if you look into the minimum wages, non-managerial roles in the scheduled employments, as of now, it is applicable to non-managerial roles, whereas in the new labor code, all the employees will be having this minimum wages concept. Likewise, the payment of wages which less than 24K, employees will be liable. In this new code, all the employers and employee and workers as well will have this payment of wages applicable. Even in the provident fund wage ceiling, which is one of the important part, like you will have this wage ceiling 15K, right? So this is going to be actually time being it is there, but it is going to be redundant in few months after this code comes into effective. So will not have this wage ceiling of 15K. So all the employees and workers will come under the PPF scheme. And for the new provisions like fixed term employment, gig platform workers and self-employed workers, these are unorganized people actually being brought under this code, so that they'll also get all the standards of social security and working conditions as per the regular employees. Health and safety also actually been given to not only to factory workers, for all the employees, the health and safety has been given prioritized. Likewise, the working and leave policies also been applicable to all the employee category. This is a welcoming note actually. Now let's look into the important concept called wages. So here is where the major impact in this labor code. So we'll spend some time on this, because we'll have to understand, because the major impact like the payroll category or the compliance category will have contradictory in this wage concept only. So it is being given across all the four codes, the same wage definition is being given, which actually includes the salary and allowances like basic pay, DA retaining allowances. All these actually been considered as the wages, whereas it has some exclusions like house accommodations, bonus, amenities, PF, ESI contributions, conveyance. All those things were actually being excluded as a part of wages. So one of the important note that has been given in this code of wages definition is like our salary constitute at least 50% should be constituted as the wages. That means if you are having basic plus DA or allowances less than 40 or less than 50, you should actually consider 50% at least for the calculation of any social security or uh, other benefits. So what actually will impact on this change, you may ask. So this will actually impact on your gratuity payout. Obviously, we are paying on the basic, the basic salary. So when we consider to 40 percentage or 30 percentage, so it will be less. But after this wage code actually been introduced, they'll consider 50 percentage of the employee's remuneration as the basic. So the salary. So that will actually increase the gratuity payout. Even EPF, ESI, they are not going to have this wage ceiling. Currently, the wage ceiling is 15. So they'll actually planning to, remove that wage ceiling. So in ESI also, they are going to remove this, hike this ESI limit. So that is actually going to increase the cost of burden of the people cost. So likewise, the bonus contributions, retrenchment compensations, all those things are actually going to be hiked because right from 4 to 7% in the payout of the employees will going to increase in the new labor code change. So I'm just giving you an example to have better understanding of this code of wages, actually what it says. So if you take the example of Mr. A, so he has basic 20K, HRA, conveyance and special allowances put together 50. When applying the definition of this wages, so you will have this exclusion of wages for HRA and conveyance that comes around 18K. So the total permissible exclusions will be 50 percentage of the total remuneration, that is 25, or step 2, your HRA and conveyance allowance. So which put together 18,000. So whichever is less, they'll consider for exclusions. So wages to be considered for A will be exclusions, that is HRA and conveyance. So that will be 32K. So based on this 32K only, the gratuity or other social security benefits will be calculated. Whereas if you take the example of B, where we have the same basic HRA conveyance and the special allowance has been, modified. So applying this definition, so you will have the exclusion for HRA and conveyance, so that put together 28K. So in this scenario, you will have to take the minimum 50 percentage that will come around 25K, right? So that in that scenario, you can take 25K exclusion and 25K on the part of wages, so that will be calculated on 25K. So this will be the scenario after the new code of code of labor comes into effect. The wage definition will play a huge role. We'll have a separate session, Q&A session for this wages. Definitely we'll have more questions on this. We'll take that also. So now what are the impacts that you will have the social security payouts? So the impact on social security payouts like your provident fund, gratuity, bonus, ESI, all those things will discuss now. So like the contribution, currently this limit of 15K, it is going to continue as of now, but we have a news that it will be taken off, like 15K limit will not be there. So everyone even if we want to opt out employees, there will not be option. So 15K limit will not be there. So wage ceiling, which is for the applicable of coverage of employees will be redundant. So that is subject to rules. EPFO is coming up with the rules, so that may be implemented within a year. So these two changes will impact on the provident fund payment. Increase in the provident fund payment. When it comes to gratuity, we apply the new definition of wages, that is 50% of your wages will be considered as salary, that means basic. So obviously you will have the increase in gratuity. So how my gratuity will increase like 50% if you consider for calculations. As of now, if you are considering for 45 percentage or 40 percentage, so you will have this 4 or 5 percentage increase. So definitely it is going to be a burden for the employer. So but they have not withdrawn the eligible the years of service for regular employee. So still that continues 5 years, whereas the fixed term employment, this is a new term actually being brought in. These type of employees, if you are engaging, so the service condition of 5 years will not be applicable. Even if they are working for 1 day, we'll have to pay them the gratuity. So this fixed term employment concept we'll discuss separately, and likewise it will be there. When it comes to ESI and bonus, the contribution of new definition, like the basis of new definitions, ESI is yet to notify this new wage definition. Based on that, ESI may come down, but other part is like wage ceiling currently is 21K, right? So that is they are going to increase. It is going to be notified. They are going to increase that 21K wage ceiling. So a lot of employees will come into the bracket of ESI. When it comes to bonus also, they are going to hike this wage ceiling eligibility. As of now, it is for the statutory bonus, it is 21K for the eligibility of employees, and the payable basis also based on the new wage definition, that is 50% of your salary will be considered as wages. So that concept, if we apply, then it will be huge. The bonus payout also will be huge. We discussed the contract and contractors part, like the cost of burden will increase when you engage a contract employee. Also, you will have to give them the social benefits as per the normal employees, and also this advance payment concept, where you have rendered a service, you have to pay the service bill in advance to the contractor so that he can pay the salary to his employees. So this is a new concept, and it has to be implemented. It has to be even if you have contract employees. So other important thing is like standing order. So this standing order will have a lot of confusions, like whether it is applicable to my establishment or it is not applicable, or what is actually there and what we need to do on this standing order. All those thing actually been under our mind. So the standing order, what they have brought in is like they have increased the applicability for a standing order from for 300 up to below 300. There is no applicability for maintaining the standing order, where if you have more than 300 and specifically they are workers, and you will definitely have the standing order in place. As of now, the establishments may follow the model standing order. That will follow. If they are following the model standing order, that will follow. And we don't, if you want any change in that, the same procedure, we have to approach the labor commissioner and get it changed. This fixed term employment, this concept actually been there for a while, but this fixed term employment, you can engage an employee in a fixed term, where you will have all the benefits, like the payment to the social security, to the benefits, health, all those things is as per the normal employees, but you will have a fixed term with the fixed term contract with the employee. So after the contract expires, you don't have the employee and employer relationship between the between both. So this concept actually brings in like after the contract, whether do I need to continue or this employee kind of thing, it is not that. So after that expiry of contract, you can ask them to leave. So this will benefit some category of employers like organizations. But the other part is like for this fixed term employment, you need to provide all the benefits as per the normal employees, wherein you have to provide the PF, ESI, gratuity, and even in gratuity, this 5 years term is not actually been applicable. So even if they work for 1 day, you will have to provide them the gratuity. This is as far as the fixed term employment. And a new floor wage concept being introduced in this new code. Like the floor wages will be like across India based on the geographical differentiations. The government, the central government will fix a floor wage that will be par. I mean, you should have minimum wages apart. I mean, apart from this floor wages. Say, for example, if central government fixes 1,000 rupees as a minimum floor wage, so the state government, respective state government, should not go below the 1,000 rupees. They should actually fix the minimum wages either 1,000 or above 1,000. So this will ensure that equity of I mean wages being provided across all over India to across all the organization sectors. So this is a new concept, and it is actually a welcoming one. Now we'll come to the compliance part. With respect to the registers and returns, as far as the code, they have actually been, I mean, modified. Like they have brought in a lot of changes with respect to the registers, maintenance, and returns. Earlier, we will have a lot of registers to be maintained. It may be replicating, or it may be like I mean, humongous, or we have to follow a lot of rules and regulations. So after this rule, what it will actually have like 2 or 3 registers max to max we'll have, and this will cover all the regulations with respect to the code of wages. So when you take the code of wages for minimum wages, payment of wages, bonus, equal remunerations, all put together will have 10 registers. Now, after this code implementation, you will have 2 registers to be maintained. Likewise, for the returns also, a single unified returns that actually being now practiced with the Sham Siddha portal, a single unified return. So that is also going to be effective after this labor code is being introduced. This is actually a welcoming note because the ease of compliance will come when it gets implemented, because you can maintain registers and returns in a single hand. So the abstract maintenance and the registers maintenance, apart from this, doesn't have major changes. Abstract maintenance, as usual, we'll have to maintain the abstracts, whatever applicable to our organizations. Wage ceiling. So when it comes to wage ceiling, as I told earlier, the wage ceiling for the applicability or coverage of employees, like in chapter 3 and 4, that is PF and ESI, you will have changes in upcoming months, because the wage ceiling will impact on the PF liability and ESI liability. So currently we are providing for 15K the PF. It is the minimum statutory adherence. Whereas if they are going to remove that wage ceiling, then based on the salary definition, that is wage definitions, you will have to provide at least 50% of your for the 50% you have to provide the ESI and PF. So that is actually a burden to the employer with respect to the cost. So they have made a lot of changes in the offenses and penalties. actually it has been hiked 300, 400 times, because as of now, the current penalty or the offences actually is very low when compared to the upcoming labor code. So it starts actually minimum 50K, and it goes around 3 lakhs to 4 lakhs if the offences is subsequent, and it continues. It applies to all the social security code. When we actually make any offences or we make any defaults, the penalties and the offences, I mean the interest will be huge. It's actually a minimum of 50K, and it's going up to 3 lakhs with the imprisonment also. So this is actually 300 to 400 times actually increased with respect to earlier provisions. So because those also will have a huge hike with respect to payment of wages and payment of social security scheme. Now we come to the applicability, registration and cancellations. So most of the labor laws we have will have this applicability, whether it is applicable to us, registrations, what we are going to do the existing registrations and cancellations. So they have also brought in some changes, like we don't need to do any new registrations with respect to PF or ESI. Whatever existing registrations we are having, so that will continue. We don't need to go for any new registrations after this new code applies. And some of the labor laws doesn't apply for registration, because it is just a regulatory compliance. So when it comes to payment of gratuity or maternity or compensations, that is all regulatory compliance. So we need to follow the rules. And when it comes to the applicability, the same rule, whatever existing now, that continues, like 20 and above, the EPF will applicable, ESI 10 and above, all those will continue to apply. And there is a new concept called cancellation, which is brought in this new code, where you have an option. I mean, the employer have an option to cancel the EPF and ESI registration, which is actually still not clear. But what they have told is, like, we have an option if the major employee wants to opt out of this PF or ESI, they can do so with the, I mean, majority of the employees want to opt out, even if we have existing EPF. But still not, EPF has not clarified with this thing. So it is not a confirmed information, but there is some provision which is specifically being provided in this code. So this is the applicability for registration for the code of wages, where all this registration part is not applicable to code of wages, like payment of wages, minimum bonus, equal remunerations. That doesn't require any registrations, but it has the applicability with respect to the same provisions which is followed now. So now we have looked into the various scenarios, like what actually the labor code is, what it actually impacts on our business, and what are the rules we have to follow. All those things we have discussed. Now we need to know how we proceed from here to our respective organizations or to our respective team, how we are going to proceed from here. So that is actually a major part that we have to look into it. Like, as far as our thought, so the increase in people cost is inevitable, where you have this PF, ESI gratuity is going to be increased. We recommend that the HR team, that HR finance team that you did, you have to study the impact in detail, and we have to revise the pay structure or components. That is actually very recommended, because in the upcoming financial year, if we are having the same most probably if we are having the same component structure, then we might have a huge cost for the employees, people cost. So some facilities that are available currently now, like the removal of wage limits. I mean, currently the PF wage limits are there. Option to opt out to PF. All those things are going to be redundant. So which also will impact that a lot of employees will have to be brought in the PF or ESI concept. So that will be a huge impact on our payout. So we have to sensitize our employees. Like once we have a concrete approach, like this is what the rules, because the final rules is yet to be notified. Once it's notified, we'll have to sensitize our employees who is going to share the burden, like based on the CTC or based on the cross based remunerations. There will be a burden which has to be either employee or employer will have to share. So that has to be analyzed, and we have to, prepare ourselves for the upcoming new labor code. So this is what our thoughts, and what our thoughts on with respect to the increase percentage is like if we have a basic and DA currently between 30 to 40, we can estimate an increase of about 7% increase in people cost. So if you have basic plus DA currently around 40 to 50 percentage, the estimate we uh, assume that it will be around 4 to 0.5 percentage increase in people cost. So this is a approximate scenario that we actually assessed. So we'll have this things. The people cost will obviously will increase, but based on some recommendations like realigning the pay components, salary structures, retirement components, assessment of the retirement components. All those will bring in some part. Preparatory activities will bring in somehow we'll able to manage and get past to this, adhere to this new labor code. This is what our recommendations actually. We'll also extend our expertise to do this for your organizations. I'm sure that this four-dimensional approach will help you to adhere to the upcoming new labor code. So we have to review the current practice. What are the current practice? As far as the payroll or compliance part, we have to review the current practice, and we have to analyze the new labor code. What are the impacts that the new labor code is there, and we have to align with the current practice with the new labor code. This is where the major part we have to put in our thoughts, and rest like adherence to the new code, it will be smooth. So with this, I conclude the webinar. So I will put you all in unmute so that you can raise questions uh, to if you have any doubts. So thank you all. So you can unmute yourself and you can raise questions if you have. I hope all can unmute themselves and they can raise questions.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to host you today. Arun, thank you very much for the concise presentation. One of the questions that most of the participants are going to have is when are these codes coming into force, right? So I think we didn't mention that in the presentation. So the date that has been confirmed is the 1st of April 2021. So from now we have about 3 months to prepare ourselves for the new labor codes. And Arun, also,
Yes.
the participants will not be able to unmute themselves. I request all participants to raise hands or post your questions on the chat box so that we can take it one by one. Whoever raises hands, Arun, you can unmute them because you are the host of the meeting.
Yeah. I hope everyone can unmute themselves. If you want, if you have any questions, you can raise.
Also, I think one of the very vital items here is there are a host of changes. I mean, this is the first time in the last, I can say, 40 years that the whole labor laws are undergoing a massive amount of change. So I know it's a lot to take in, maybe the presentation was too fast but for the practicality and simplicity, I think let's try to focus on our respective domains and probably let's start with impact on payroll, impact on provident fund, impact on ESI and all of that. So Arun is waiting for your questions. So are a couple of members of our team, and happy to answer your questions.
You can also put in chat box if you have any questions. You can put in chat box.
We could also probably share, what companies are doing across India to align themselves for this particular change. So we are working with a couple of organizations who have employee size anywhere between 100 to 10,000. We are doing an impact assessment because as your employee numbers increase, there is going to be a huge amount of payroll, people cost implications, and hence this impact is very essential. Impact on what would be the liability for the company moving forward. We always work on a 4.81% of gratuity. Now that 4.81% is obviously going to be on basic, but now with the revised labor codes, we will have to have that 4.81% not on basic, but on the wage, which is about 50% of our CTC minimum. That is what they say. So this is going to have a huge impact, and we are currently working with a lot of organizations in assessing what kind of impact should they be expecting in financial year 2021, financial year 21, 22, or 5 years or 10 years down the line. So that's one part of what has been happening in the industry. The other part of what has been also happening in the industry is, as you can see, that a lot of companies operate in India, but on a high level, the decisions are all made at their principal places of establishment, like United States or Australia or Europe or wherever the principal company is. So whatever analysis or whatever study we make I think you will need to present it to your management if they are outside of the country. You will need to give them a heads up and make sure that they are all aligned with this kind of changes. So you tell us what is happening in your organization. Probably you could either unmute yourself as Arun has been requesting, or you could also put it in your chat box. Yes, of course, without disclosing the name of your company. You can also share your views about the impact and what you have been doing, so everybody else could also benefit.
So Deepa Chandran is having a question. So whether it is 50% of salary in gross or CTC. So it's on total remuneration. So it will be on the CTC. So anyone have questions, you can raise. You can unmute yourself.
Arun, I have a question about the compliance part. So,
Yes.
yeah, do we have to continue like how we are doing it now, like maintaining the physical registers and all stuffs, or will there be an online mode where we can do everything online?
See, rather like I had a couple of discussions with the labor department. As of now, they didn't get proper notification. They may release probably in Feb how it is going to be. But
Okay.
most of the register maintenance and returns now are actually been brought into this Sham Sudha portal. So where you can do one time one shot returns. That
Okay.
is going to be continue. So with regards to register maintenance with respect to shops and establishments will continue in physical or
Okay.
through the Excel. Whereas with the central labor laws, it is going to be online only, Radha.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
So Arun, is it accurate to say that most of the central laws will be complied online and state laws will continue to be complied offline?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Wonderful. So at least there is some kind of digitization that is happening.
Yeah.
And I also understand that Provident Fund and ESI registration can happen while incorporating the company itself, right? Nowadays.
Yeah, they brought in a new scenario like when we register a company, this automatically it will enable for a new registration. So we have an option to either to continue that code or we will have extension for that code to continue. So that will have an option. Once we have 20 plus employees, it will be mandatorily incorporated to the company.
So what it means is, though we do get a PF code, an employer PF code or an ESI employer code, until we reach 19, we don't have to comply. But once we reach 20 and above, we'll have to comply, right?
Yeah, you are correct. So we have an option to extend that applicability as far as PF or ESI. So once we think like we are going to reach that 20 or 10, then we don't need to extend that and we'll incorporate the registration.
Right. And so if there are no questions, I think we should conclude the meeting, Arun. And are you going to share the materials and everything?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll share the PPT and recording shortly. And once again, thank you all. And if you have any questions, you can write to me also directly. And thank you all for participating to this webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.